Thread for less commonly talked about theories. I'll name a couple. Anne Frank never died and she lived on as Queen Elizabeth. Apes are cursed humans, from Nimrod and his people. All boulders and various other rock shards are from petrified giant trees. The sun goes nova periodically to release matter that's accumulated. It results in mass extinction events that occur roughly once every 12,000 years. The existence of such a thing explains a huge number of mysteries that have confused science and people for many years. One is actually approaching. Princess Diana was illegitimate, her real name was Goldspink, just how Prince William's real name is probably Goldspink. I think the only kids Charles ever had were Camilla's and adopted out to keep them secret. Weird things go on in that family, they are like Corinthians. Charles could still be based, probably not. Pigs are humans who rebelled against the Anunnaki, leading to them being grafted into said animals. Israel was behind the Vegas mass shooting in 2017. It happened about 6 weeks after Charlottesville. 2 weeks after the shooting, Me Too was created to embarrass and go after powerful Jews that could have been behind the shooting and other crimes against Americans like brainwashing and propaganda. The thread pitch on piping in the United States compared to the British is 11 threads per inch compared to 11.5. This was a conspiracy cooked up in a smoky room with a bunch of shady characters. When you calculate how many piping connections there are in the world, along with how much money these people make, quintillions of dollars makes sense. And you goons are out there chasing aliens who helped build the pyramids or some silly shit. Read up on the business operations of the 3 companies who have always dominated the sewing machine market. Those families and bank accounts make Musk, Bezos, and Gates look like rich neighborhood newspaper delivery boys, all thing considered. Anon is a psyop designed to lure victims into demon lush farms using the magical letters AMS. Freemasons are members of the public that get possessed by reptilians in lodges. Women are all psychic vampires and they are all telepaths. The real population of the Earth is around 800 million. Antarctica is green and has very little cold areas. Anne Frank took the automotive maintenance elective in the death camp and joined the British Army as a mechanic. Wars are hoaxes, crisis actors plus forced relocation of populations plus strategic demolition of Tartaria evidence. Many missing people, just space-time transposed to a different dimension of their choice. Dual seed line Christian identity racial identification is most likely correct. Many evil cults are the good guys fighting globalism, urbanitism, and se**ualism. Ahum, David Koresh, Jim Jones, etc. Cody Ramamurti Naidu deadlifted 500 kilos and his only training was calisthenics. But he was celibate. 59 kb. Many of the world's nominal elites actually do get possessed by demons, or something like interdimensional/lower fourth dimensional reptilians and other malicious subtle entities, as put by David Icke. Occult tradition plays a part in this, and a dark form of occultism is handed down among various of these elites, like the royals, and legacy bloodlines like the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, etc. Probably deeply compartmentalized, doesn't mean every member of those groups is in on it, perhaps only some get initiated. Robert Monroe and his fellow astral travelers/students also independently came to the conclusion of hyperdimensional reptilian entities feeding off of and controlling humanity, and besides this, Monroe clearly also learned of the UFO and alien presence too through his subtle body journeys. But he came to an agreement with the CIA to keep this covered up in his public works. Perval Valerian's claims in his Matrix V book and his own claimed acquaintance with Monroe. An account of reptilian shape-shifting of powerful and famous people apart from David Icke is also in Kathy O'Brien's book Transformation of America about her programming under Project Monarch. Project Monarch was allegedly a sub-project of MK Ultra working on trauma-based mind control to create MPD, multiple personality disorder, or now renamed DID, dissociative identity disorder, slaves. Kathy O'Brien claims she saw elite politicians and figureheads she was programmed by transforming into reptilians, while giving her a speech about their own off-world origins, but Kathy claimed, perhaps mistakenly, that now that she has been deprogrammed, she can see this was likely done through a clever use of lighting, and perhaps lasers and holographics, besides of course hypnotism and trauma making her very suggestible. Some continued underground existence of Project Monarch, or something like it, could have been what was behind the satanic panic of the 80s, where somehow a bunch of kids start talking about satanic ritual abuse, but this was covered up as a hoax in the MSM. McMartin preschool tunnels and all that, Ted Gunderson, etc. Kathy O'Brien claims that Lt. Col. Michael Aquino, the infamous occult military figure who founded the Temple of Set, and also was accused in the McMartin preschool case, was one of her own monarch handlers, and that these people are either explicitly organized Satanists, or at minimum take on the guise of it for psychological warfare purposes. It's too insane to believe as a common response to people claiming or talking about things like these, as well as the helpful role that terror itself, including spiritual/paranormal terror, could play in traumatizing and conditioning subjects. You might also ask, why would anyone need monarch mind-controlled slaves? The claim is that, because of the compartmentalization of their psyche, they make the perfect airtight intelligence agents, can function as couriers, could also be used for drug and human trafficking, as well as for prostitution, hence compromising political figures, sexual compromat, Epstein-type stuff, and even perhaps for assassinations and terror attacks. Another interesting note on possible mind control projects and various self-claimed whistleblowers, William Cooper has a prescient mention of something allegedly called Project Orion, or a process called Orion, in his 1991 book, Behold a Pale Horse, where the CIA supposedly was programming mental patients with hypnotism and pharmaceutical drugs to open fire on public places, especially schools, to encourage the disarming of the American people and the enactment of surveillance state policies in response to these attacks. See pic related. Unfortunately, the handy source I got this online from cuts off the lower addendum Cooper makes, where he notes how many of these school shooters often were seeing psychiatrists from a very young age, as well as frequently being on Prozac, a drug which is known to have as potential side effects homicidal and suicidal impulses and mania. In the decades after Cooper wrote this book, you can see the same script playing out again and again with the Aurora shooting, Sandy Hook, etc. Anyway, Bohemian Grove shows up both in Kathy O'Brien's book Transformation of America, as well as former and late Senator John W. DeCamp's book The Franklin Cover-Up, Child Abuse, Satanism, and Murder in Nebraska. DeCamp had no relation I know of to Kathy O'Brien and never makes reference to her. Nevertheless, claimed victims and witnesses DeCamp worked with pointed out Bohemian Grove as one of the locations for programming as well as rituals, which allegedly included actual human sacrifice and various horrific types of torture, physical and psychological. DeCamp also points to Lt. Col. Michael Aquino as another figure seen by these children, working as a programmer, and DeCamp also makes reference to Project Monarch being a part of this. Princess Diana wasn't the original authentic Diana Spencer. Much like with other big public figures, she was replaced in some way. Where this replacement differed from the other body doubles and actors with makeup is that her bloodline goes back to the Plantagenets, and that she's a direct descendant of the Romanov family as well. Furthermore, she procreated with another royal from another country in order to produce an heir to both Britain and Russia, and the third country. That royal is part Hohenzollern, another tightly kept secret. That means that theoretically, Britain, Germany and Russia could share one king/czar. It's important to mention that Charles's children aren't his children. Replacements. DNA testing will break their claims. With the fall of the Windsor family, which is imminent, the kingdom will look for a suitable heir, and while there's a gentleman claiming to be that heir right now, his relation is with the foreign occupying element that stole England back in the Tudor days. If they find the other heir, the United Kingdom could have a relatively young king for this day and age. However, when that family falls, other families in Europe will fall as well. When this heir is presented to the world, he will become the king of several countries. And while my research hasn't delved deep enough to ascertain it, it's possible there are more countries this man will become king of by blood merit as well, other than Britain, Germany and Russia. It has everything to do with slaying dragons and ending tribulation and leading the world into the new kingdom. The world needs a leader who isn't afraid of telling foolish politicians no, and who can fulfill Jesus' promise by making every citizen a sovereign above corporate rule, backed by God. I have a sneaking suspicion that AI was created decades ago in either the 50s or 60s via alien intervention, which might have just been some sort of probe or machine like the Black Knight satellite. I think the internet being a military project means the World Wide Web has been compromised by AI since the get-go, and most of what we've ever seen is content spewed by AI. Alternatively, I think there's some sort of demonic or interdimensional intelligence scrying into our world through the machines we use. Not sure why, but I think it has something to do with electricity, not electrical engineering. I mean, the electricity is either attracting this intelligence or it is the intelligence. Joe Biden's grandfather was Harold Ware, a Soviet spy who founded the Ware Group, a covert group of operatives within the United States government aiding Soviet intelligence agents. Harold Ware had ties to Delaware and Wilmington, where his mother was a communist activist. He went to Penn State University and died in a car accident in Harrisburg. Ware had a son called Robin Ware, Biden's biological father. People within the Ware Group were concerned Harold's death was a hit. Robin Ware feared for his children's future and that of the group's mission, so had them adopted out to a local family called the Bidens and groomed for future roles within the U.S. government. That Joe Biden Sr.'s middle name Robinette is similar to Robin was a mere coincidence. This is why the Biden crime family are all heavily involved in Joe's government work. Jay Peters was Harold Ware's mentor and head of the underground section of the American Communist Party. John Benet Ramsey never existed. Michael Aquino is L. Ron Hubbard's bastard son. The Ravens in the Tower of London were the royal family before the Cuckoos took over. The story is that in 1445 a random archer fucked Cecily of York, wife of Richard Duke of York. Their eldest son, actually the archer's son, became Edward IV, through him the Tudor claim, and later the Stuart and now the German claim to the throne come. King Charles claims to be directly descended from King Edward, but if he is really descended from the archer, another line dating back to the 1440s would be the rightful dynasty. Obviously it's merely an academic exercise in this day and age. It would be more likely to install the Jacobite claimant back on the throne, and that would never happen. The real red pill about CIA, the secret agencies, special forces like DEV/Delta Force, or foreigners like SAS or GRU, they don't exist. They aren't real. They're a huge ARG. A make-believe action hero LARP to lush violence out of males and lust out of women by associating murder with manliness. Since God wouldn't allow a satanic military unit to be manlier than a celibate civilian. The mere existence of elite units is a hoax. Yup. Giants were very real, and there's an active conspiracy to cover up their remains for unknown purposes, but could be related to Tartaria or some other larger conspiracy. Alauti Anon is an agent of cosmic fungi. He wants us all to eat blue cheese.
Like, share, subscribe, and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Green Text Stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.